Hello guys, I'm Lila. My mother-in-law, April, wasn't a problem in my life until she literally moved into my home. My husband, Elliot, and I had a fairly great life. I was a bit sad when he had to shift to another country for work. He said that he didn't want to leave me alone, but the offer there was extremely good. I told him to take the job and he promised to come back as soon as possible. I stayed back in our country because my mother was sick and I didn't want to be too far away from her. Things were going according to our plans, but then an accidental pregnancy landed on our plates. Elliot and I were expecting a baby boy. We were surprised by the news because we weren't even trying for a kid, but it happened, and we were happy to welcome our first child. The only problem was that I lived alone and Elliot could only come back to our country once every 2 months. Flights are expensive and we needed to save money for medical bills. My doctor had told me to rest as much as I could because there were some complications in my pregnancy. Elliot was really worried about me and didn't know what to do. I won't lie, but even I was a little worried about being all alone. That's when my mother-in-law came to us and said, "I can move in with you guys and help with the baby." "Really? Will you do that, Mom?" "Yes, why not, son? Lila is carrying my grandbaby, so this is the least I can do. She can't stay alone in the house and needs some help." "I do need some help, April. I'm tired all the time and have been told to take it easy, but it's just difficult to manage everything on my own and find time to rest." "Well, that won't be a problem if I move in with you. I will be a lot of help and I can also give you breaks when you are overwhelmed with my grandson." "Sounds like a good idea, April. Thank you so much for offering to help." I was truly grateful for her help. My husband was going crazy worrying about me living alone, so he was relieved when his mom offered to help. She was the best candidate to stay with me because we thought she was reliable and trustworthy. My husband, especially, thought it was a great idea to have his mother stay with me because he trusted her to take care of me. But we had no idea how different things would be. We agreed to let April move in with us and stay as long as she felt comfortable. She left her rented apartment and stayed with us completely free of cost. My husband was funding her, so she didn't even have to get a job to contribute to the household. I was excited to have her with me and thought that it would help us develop a closer bond. But all my hopes and dreams were crushed. A few days after she moved in, I realized that having her in my house was a big mistake. April didn't help me around the house at all. In the beginning, I was hesitant to ask her for help and tried to do everything by myself. The only thing she did was to cook for herself. That's right, she didn't even make a portion for me. I was doing everything around the house as usual and even took up her share of housework when she slacked off. She was literally not doing anything to help me rest. As the weeks passed, I started to ask her to help me, but she straight up told me that it was my job and she wasn't going to help. I don't like pestering people for help, so I kept quiet and continued to do everything. I also didn't tell my husband what was going on because I knew he would get worried. Whenever he was home, April would make a big show of doing chores, so Elliot thought that I was getting the help I needed. However, April wasn't helping me out at all when he was gone. A mix of pregnancy complications and not getting enough rest led me to have premature labor. I was also bleeding profusely and was rushed to the hospital. After a very difficult labor, during which they thought I might die, I was able to have my son. Elliot missed his birth, but was scheduled to fly in the next day after he made an emergency booking. The next morning, I was trying to get some sleep when April noisily came into my room and woke me up. I was a little groggy but didn't say anything because I had just woken up. April kept talking about God knows what, and I ignored her to concentrate on getting my bearings back after being woken up so rudely. My head went clear when April said, "So, when can you go home today? Are they preparing your discharge papers, or should I talk to them?" "I literally just gave birth. I can't go home right now." "What? You still have to stay here? But you have already spent a night here. Do you have to stay here today as well?" "Yes, April, I have to stay here today as well." "That is not going to work. You need to tell the doctor to let you go home today." I was super confused about what April was saying. She was telling me that I needed to go home that day and even insisted that I ask the doctor to make me leave early. I had literally given birth the previous day and almost died from childbirth. But April was hurrying me to go home instead of staying at the hospital and recovering from the birth. I said to her, "Why would I do that, April? I'm still pretty weak, and there is a big reason why the doctors are keeping me here." "Oh, please. Women give birth all the time. You aren't special. You don't have to stay here and have a mini vacation." "Does it look like I'm having fun here? I almost died. So no, not every woman goes through what I did. I'm not going to jeopardize my health by going home early on your request." "But you can't be here for so many days, Lila." "Why the hell not, April? You have too much to do at home. Who will do all the work?" "What do you mean, April? You know that the house needs to be clean for the baby. I clearly remember seeing dirty dishes in the sink before we came here. There is so much work at home, Lila." I was trying very hard to process what my mother-in-law was saying. She wanted me back to the house because she had expected me to do the house chores. This woman hadn't even bothered to wash the dishes we left in the sink and expected me to do it. I was in utter disbelief and said, "I was on my deathbed just yesterday. Do you really expect me to go home and do the dishes, April?" "Yes, why not? Who's going to do the dishes? You don't have a maid or a housekeeper." "Woman, you are insane. I can't be doing anything and need complete bed rest for at least a month." "What? A month? You are seriously milking this, Lila. You don't need so much time to recover. You need to stop being such an attention-seeking woman. You are fine. Doing the dishes won't kill you." I was extremely irritated because April was being obnoxious and insensitive again. I was already pretty tired of dealing with her. She was being a big nuisance and wasn't of any help even before I gave birth. I was high on hormones and my patience was running thin. I snapped at her and said, "Maybe it will kill me, April. I got into this situation in the first place because you refused to help me with any of my house chores. You could have easily cleaned up the house while I was here." "Why would I clean your house, Lila? It's your job, not mine." "You moved in with me with the sole purpose of helping me out. Now you're saying that it's not your job." "I never said I moved in to help you out. Why would I help you? You are a grown woman and pregnancy isn't a reason to slack off on your duties." "If that's what you thought, why did you move in with me?" "Oh, I just wanted to be around my grandbaby. I'm actually here for him, not you. I have no problems taking care of him, but I won't be doing your work for you." "What's the point of moving in with us then? You can just leave and go back to where you were." "Why would I do that? My grandson needs me, and eventually my son will need me too when he comes home. Who will take care of them when you are so hell-bent on being a lazy woman? If you have any shame, you will tell the doctor to discharge you early so that you can get back from work." I was pretty irritated by April's stupid demands. What she was asking of me was completely ridiculous. She had no regard for the fact that I could have died with the amount of blood I had lost. I could barely move even after one day, and she was still telling me that I needed to go home and start on house chores. I told her that I wouldn't be doing any of that. But April wouldn't let it go. April never stopped talking about me going home. She kept irritating me and escalating her behavior when she saw that I wasn't relenting. She was yelling at me and calling me all sorts of names like lazy, attention seeker, opportunistic, etc. I was also informed by my doctor that she had tried to talk to him and force him to sign discharge papers. My doctor and a few of the nurses let me know that I could easily kick my mother-in-law out if I wanted. I held strong because I knew that ultimately I had to deal with her after I went home. But I lost my patience when she said, "You are making a big mistake, Lila. Your house is a mess, and it is no place to keep a baby. In that case, you need to go back home and start working on it. You need to help out too if you plan to stay with us. You are being very rude and neglecting your duties, Lila. If you continue to do this, I might just have to teach you a lesson." "What is that supposed to mean, April?" "I don't know. Maybe the CPS will make a surprise visit one day and see how filthy your house is. You know that they take these things seriously, right? God knows what they might do if they see you not taking care of your house and making your son live in an unhygienic place." April was straight up threatening me. I looked at her in disbelief as she gave me a sly smile and then a smirk. She was telling me that she wasn't above calling CPS to take my child away. The very fact that she was willing to go to this extent to make me work around the house sent me into a rage. My motherly instincts kicked in the moment April threatened to have my baby taken away. I decided that I was no longer going to accept her horrible behavior and finally took a stand for myself. I yelled and screamed at her like a crazy woman until the nurses came and asked me if I wanted to kick her out. I told them that yes, I didn't want April anywhere near me or my child anymore. April threw a major tantrum and hurled abuses at me when I asked her to leave. She was screaming at me and instantly my blood pressure spiked. The nurses rushed in to calm me down and called security to throw my mother-in-law out. She refused to leave on the nurses' insistence, so they had to involve hospital security. After April was taken away, I broke down crying because of all the stress. The nurses calmed me down and I called a friend over to come and see me. She immediately arrived at the hospital and stayed with me until my husband arrived that day. Elliot came to see me and our son as soon as he landed. He came to the hospital and straight from the airport and changed in my bathroom before holding our baby. We had some private time together with the three of us, and finally, I felt like I was at peace. Elliot was extremely worried about me and said that he was scared something was going to happen to me. He made sure that I was all right, and then he settled down with our son. I had a doubt that he knew April was kicked out of the hospital. I wanted to talk to him about it, but he decided to beat me to it. He said, "Honey, why did you kick my mother out?" "So, she's told you about that already?" "Yeah, I called her on my way to the hospital from the airport. I just wanted to check on you and tell her that I was coming. She started to cry and said that you kicked her out." "Wow, so she cried to you. I'm pretty sure she said that I was being hormonal and unreasonable, right?" "I take her words with a grain of salt, Lila. I want to hear from you about what happened." "Well, your mother wanted me to go home today. She even tried to make the doctors discharge me." My husband looked as taken aback as I was when April demanded that I leave the hospital early. Elliot was looking at me as if he couldn't believe what I was saying. His eyes went wide and he was in shock. He said, "What? Why the hell would she say that? You literally had a traumatic birth." "Well, she wanted me to go home and do the dishes and clean the house." "What are you talking about, Lila? Why do you have to go home and do it? She could just do it herself." "Nope. She told me very clearly that she wouldn't do anything that she considers to be my job." "But she moved in with you to help you out. Why is she suddenly refusing to help after you've given birth?" "Actually, she was never helping me, Elliot. I was doing all the chores in the house." I then proceeded to tell my husband everything that I had been keeping a secret. I didn't hold back and told him that April was never helping me. She only made a show of being a big help whenever Elliot was around. When he was gone, she would change her behavior and not do anything around the house. My husband was even more shocked when he got the full story from me. I was tired of allowing April to walk all over me and finally told my husband everything. Elliot was in complete shock but didn't say much while I talked. He was patient with me and even comforted me as I started to cry, remembering what happened in the morning and how April had threatened to call CPS and get our child taken away. We knew that CPS wouldn't find anything amiss, but the fact that she was making threats wasn't sitting right with me or my husband. Elliot was starting to get super angry after he heard this part. He got even angrier when the doctor and nurses came in and told him that April's behavior had caused me to have a spike in blood pressure. They advised my husband to make sure I wasn't too stressed, otherwise I would get seriously sick. My husband listened to the doctors and said that he would do everything possible to make sure I get to stay stress-free. When we were alone again, he said, "I'm sorry for what my mother did, Lila. I should have known better than to allow her into our house." "It's okay, Elliot. You didn't know she would turn out to be like this." "God, I hate the fact that you got sick because of her. If you had told me everything sooner, I would have done something." "But don't worry, Lila. I'll take care of this." "What are you planning to do, Elliot?" "You don't have to worry about her anymore, Lila. Let me deal with her. You please take some rest and make sure you get better." My husband kissed the top of my head and stayed with me until I fell asleep. After I was asleep, he went back to the house to freshen up and came back to the hospital to spend time with me and our son. He did inform me that he had hired a housekeeper to clean up the house and make sure everything was pristine so that our baby and I would come home to a clean, sparkling house. I didn't ask about April and was content having her out of the hospital. On the day I was supposed to be discharged, I started to feel anxious again. I was dreading going back home and facing April. I know she would be pissed that I told my husband everything and complained about her. Plus, I was afraid she was going to find new ways to torment me. I was still weak and had a baby to take care of, so I was feeling extra vulnerable. But I didn't voice them out to Elliot. I trusted my husband and knew that he would protect me to the best of his ability. But I couldn't get rid of the nervousness that was eating me from the inside. I went home and was surprised to see that everything was truly sparkling. The housekeeper did an excellent job in cleaning and organizing everything. I settled in straight away and made myself comfortable. It is a different feeling to take your baby home from the hospital. Coming home was also a little emotional for me because I had thought I might die and not be able to come back here. I enjoyed being back in my happy place and was busy taking care of the baby while also being on bed rest. It was a long time later that I realized that I didn't see April around. She didn't even come home when it was quite late at night, and that's when I asked my husband, "Where is your mother, Elliot? Won't she be home today?" "No, Lila, she won't be home." "Oh, where did she go?" "She had to go somewhere, but I don't know, and I don't care where. But don't worry, she won't be back anymore." "Wait, what? She won't be back? Is she mad at me because I complained to you?" "Well, yes, she is mad at you, but that's not why she left." "Then why did she leave out of the blue?" "Well, I kicked her out." I literally wasn't expecting to hear this, guys. My husband made a straight face and told me that he had kicked his mother out of our house. I looked at him in awe and saw that he was smiling down at me. I said, "You really kicked her out?" "Yes. That was the first thing I did when I came home from the hospital that day. I wasn't going to continue to let her stay in my house for free when she has been nothing but cruel towards you." "I believe she didn't take this very well." We had a big fight and she cried and begged me not to throw her out. But I didn't give in because your safety and mental health is more important to me than her fake tears.
Thank you for doing this, Elliot. I was really dreading coming home and facing April after everything she did. I didn't tell you because I figured you would keep her in check, but you did much more than that.
It's my duty to protect you, Lila. Of course I was going to do it.
But won't this spoil your relationship with your mother?
I don't actually care anymore, Lila. As I said, you mean more to me than her. Besides, I have already told her that we won't be in contact with her from now on. You don't have to face her or talk to her in the near future, Lila.
I was glad to hear that Elliot had also decided to cut her off. I had been thinking about going no contact with her, but I was going to let Elliot stay in touch. But my husband had beat me to the plan, too. He has told his mother that he won't be keeping in contact with her anymore. Sure, my son was going to miss out on one grandma, but he is better off without her. April did reach out to me after I came home from the hospital. Since Elliot had kicked her out, she had nowhere to go, and was surfing couches at her relatives. No one was happy to host her and were exceptionally angry at her for being so cruel to me. I am actually pretty well loved by almost all family members on Elliot's side, so when they found out about what April did, they were furious with her. April was blaming me for ruining her relationship with her son, keeping her grandson away from her, getting her kicked out, and spoiling her reputation in her family. However, I simply said that this was all her own doing and I wasn't responsible for her horrible actions. She sent me a bunch of nasty texts, which I forwarded to my husband. Elliot took care of the problem with April. He was so mad at her, and he said that he didn't want to contact her ever again. April was getting desperate to get back in contact with her son, so she changed tactics and begged me for forgiveness. It was nice seeing her grovel after what she had put me through. I didn't forgive her, though. She kept texting, calling me, and I didn't even bother to send a reply or pick up the phone. Eventually, she stopped, and maybe started to harass Elliot again. My husband never let me deal with April's drama again, just like he had promised. He also got a transfer back to our country, and now we are living together like we did after we got married. Our baby is going to be a year old very soon. Time flies. And it was a magical experience watching my little one grow up right before my eyes. Sometimes I feel sad that I couldn't enjoy my pregnancy, but I am grateful for what I have right now. And I am happy that April is no longer in our lives.